All right, we're on the air. I'm breaking tradition. We're just going right in, not even playing the intro music. What's up?
What's up?
I'm just
Yeah,
feeling it.
boys.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? What's up, everybody? What's up?
What's up?
What was that? We're enjoying this warm autumn night. I mean, it's as beautiful as it can get.
Yeah, so I guess I'll do my job. I'll introduce everybody like I need to. We got Kyle Denton, Tippecanoe Herbs Wizard. We got Topher, the Majordomo Sexual.
Wow, wow.
Yep. Yep. And we got Slicky D. I just caught up on the latest Slick Dissonant installation. Really enjoyed the 111 Fortress of Solitude weaves. Good stuff. Everybody check out Slick Dissonant on YouTube. I've had a great day. I've just been trying to catch up my physical note taking onto like digital organization. So that's been going well. Getting prepped for another inner world. Getting prepped for baby time. Jen's been making freezer bags full of chili so that we have some postpartum food. So what have you been up to, Kyle? How you been, man?
Man, I've been great. We're also nesting like crazy. I saw this meme that was it was like, oh, there's 7 weeks to go. And it was like a crane like taking out the side of a building or something like that. And that's kind of what I feel like, this big major overhaul nesting energy. We're painting, remodeling, just doing all kinds of stuff, and also prepping lots of food. We got meatloaves. That's what we're doing. Lots of meatloaves, beef liver. Oh man. So all this yummy food to eat someday. So 7-8 weeks, both of us have, this beautiful presence of, oh my gosh, the absolute pure beauty of a wife that is just, got this watermelon under her shirt. And I'm just like, wow, it just glows, radiates. And so I'm basking in that, really, really loving it. And I just get the feeling like, I've just been working really, really hard, every day, but I also get the feeling that like there's this deadline, and I feel like I'm really in the pocket. Like I feel like, like in athletics, when you're kind of in the zone and the play takes as much time as you want. Well, it's been going on like this for like a couple weeks now, and I just feel really good. I feel good. I feel like I got enough time for everything, and it's just been awesome. And I get to play a lot. I've been making biochar. I'm glad Topher's here so I could talk about that. And it's the harvest season, so just reaping everything that we sowed up earlier this year, and weighing it out, and it's just, man, what a great time. And the weather's been awesome, man. And one more thing, I just have a lot of gratitude to be on the air with y'all tonight. I was just saying a prayer to the big man upstairs, putting me in the path with all of you guys, because I look up to you as some of the greatest minds on the internet, and it's just so fun too. It's fun. It's funny. It's not pretentious, and I'm ready to hang out and have a good time tonight.
Awesome.
That's what I'm about. Yeah, dude. Feel the same way. I'm always like that on a stream day. I'm like, we're giving thanks for our meal, and I'm always like, and also make sure that what we do on our show is good vibes and wise. Like, please. Really, that's all I want. It's about the energy even more than the info. Topher and I have recently got to see each other over at the old Beartarian National Festival before.
Yes.
We both came down with bear cooties at the same time. That was awesome.
That's true.
Yeah. How you been since that? We should talk a little bit about the event too.
Oh, the event was awesome. I was in full tilt with building a dome, and I had a great crew.
That actually happened.
For me, yeah.
A dome was actually built over a weekend.
Yeah. So I had a bunch of goals. One of the goals was to find some guys that would actually end up being part of my permanent crew. And I found at least 3 men that are very awesome. Like they're everything I could ask for. But the whole group of 12 guys, they all, I think we said there would be a bare minimum of like 3 like hard hours of labor a day, and I think we averaged about 9. So we went above and beyond and got everything up. And I just submitted the budget for doing all the ferro cement and all that good stuff, and they accepted it. So it's gonna be a real structure next year. It's probably gonna be where they receive people. They might make it into like a podcast studio during the event, but they're looking to actually make the dome itself as a hunting cabin for the winter, so they could rent it out. So we're gonna try and get all that work done before winter comes, because it's hard to do concrete work in the winter.
Man, so you layered on the dome scam to the Owens land scam. It's like, it's just so scammy over there. Nobody wanted to do it. You're forcing them with slave labor. Amazing stuff.
I know. I make them pay me for their labor.
That's really good.
Yeah. Actually, I gotta tell you, I learned this a long time ago, and you gentlemen probably know this, but people get more when they pay more.
Yep.
So I had a coach once when I had a pretty good college career, and so I was thrust into coaching, and I was charging kids like so little money. And I wasn't getting good results. And a friend of mine was like, well, double your charge. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, if you double how much they're paying you, they're going to be more invested in doing well. And to me, that was like mind blowing. And I did, and they did. And it was just like, it was literally like, now they had more skin in the game. Now it was like really like, oh, this is for real. And I noticed that with like all the things
that totally
that
applies
I've
to
ever
energy work, applies to tuning,
Yeah.
energy work, to art, all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a balance, right? It needs to be in the balance of what it's actually worth and what you actually need as the provider of the service too, so that it's worth your time and worth your effort. But that is such a crucial thing for artists or healers or just entrepreneurs to grasp what you're saying. Like, especially in things that are more subtle, like healing arts, but they get more out of it if they invest in it. You try to give things away for free, they're treated like they're cheap.
It's so true. I noticed that because I got hired from a bunch of people that had educational facilities in Portugal and Spain to teach over there. But in Europe, your school is paid for. And because I was teaching a technology that was considered environmentally friendly, they would fill these courses up no problem. So for me, it was a good gig because I would get paid very well to go over there, and I get to kick it in Portugal and kick it in Spain and teach, domes and earth bags and all this stuff. But none of those people did anything with it because it wasn't their money. They had no skin in the game. They were being paid to go to school, and for them, this is just something to pass the time. So it was a wonderful lesson for me because I don't like that. I don't like teaching people that are not enthusiastic. So the Beartaria Festival was awesome because I had 12 men. I had more than 12 men, but I had 12 paying people that were like, they wanted more, and they bother me now. They're always sending me messages. I love it. Like, they're into it. So it was great.
Cool, man. Well done. You did a great job leading that crew, and it's cool to see some of the crucial phases of the dome erection going on. And like, now I believe you. You really do that. I've seen it.
Yes.
Jenny says, shout out to the baby bump tea. Any pregnant ladies out there, or recent mothers, or just women or men, any human being. Like, I was drinking the baby bump tea when I had like flu symptoms, and it really helped me out, especially with like flushing some what you call it, lymph passageways. So
yeah, it's just all around nutritive. I like drinking it too. I mean, if you're gonna make a pot, share it. That's the thing about tea, is that it's just like the Mediterranean diet. It's always breaking down to its parts, oh, it's this tomato and this lettuce and this olive oil. But no, it's the community, it's the sitting down, it's being able to digest and get all the impressions of the day and complain and laugh. And the same thing goes for when you have a cup of tea with your family. You just, you're gonna experience all of that, which is, you can't put a quantity on that type of medicine, really, for what it is. It's good. I drink it too.
Does it got raspberry leaf in it?
You betcha. It sure does.
I knew it. I knew it. And I love nesting. The feeling of nesting is a skill that I picked up. And strangely enough, I've had phases, like when I move into a new place, where I go into nesting. You guys are both in a crucial time. Kyle, you've been there before, though. This is how many times? This baby number
2.
2. All right. Yeah. Chance, I'm not going to be able to say, yeah, buddy anymore. I got to change my catchphrase to, yeah, daddy.
Oh man, Jennifer sent me like this image kind of pregnant lady meme. It says, just a reminder to have your bug out bag and your car seat ready to go. Because I had my baby at 36 weeks and I'm just like, oh my God, we're at 36 weeks. I don't know how the car seat works. So it's on my list for tomorrow.
There's like little gnomes inside. You have to kind of like knock on the door and get the right key. And I always feel like, Jesus take the wheel. Satan invented the car seat or something like that. It's like, how does this thing work?
We got one of those European brand ones. It's like really fancy, but we got it off Marketplace for like 1/10 the price. And they were little European gnomes, and I don't speak any of the European dialects. So it has like leveling, levels on it, and it has all these different, like you press this way to pull this way for just like, and it's heavy as all get out. It's like 70 pounds to put in and pull out. It's like no joke.
I'm pretty sure our car seat was badass in that you could unhook it from the car and carry the baby in the car seat. Like it was also doubled as a basket, but then it had another attachment where you just click it into the stroller.
Nice.
So baby could potentially be transported to and from the car if they were asleep, which you were never so lucky for that to be the case. But yeah, that was all of the 2-for-1s and the 3-for-1s. They win the fathers over very quickly. That was one of my favorites.
Okay, so Stacy in the chat, she says that she's ordering some baby bump tea for her daughter from Tippecanoe Herbs because her daughter's pregnant, I presume. Also get the belly oil. That's an essential. It's bun in the oven belly oil. Great stuff.
Nice.
And use InnerVerse as your coupon code, 10% off. And everybody else, while you're at it, go check out Tippecanoe Herbs. It's my favorite affiliation I got. I literally use Kyle's stuff every day. I could not encourage it more highly. It's such epic medicine. I'm glad that you're getting some of that stuff. It's really good for your expecting daughter. Well done. Guys, can I show you this
Thank you.
new orgonite that I got? A client sent me this. I want to hold it up to the camera.
It's chunky.
Dude, check this out. Never had anything quite like this. I make myself big, though.
Oh, wow.
Cool. It's like the flower of life. Wow. It's got like 3 dimensions in there.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
That's
like this.
That's stunning art.
Like this iridescence to it. It's got these copper concentric rings. Dude, it's super cosmic. I'm so into this.
Wow,
Shout out
man.
Jonah. Send me that.
That's
like
beautiful.
It's like a breastplate of the ephod.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
It seriously is.
That's wonderful.
So, I
I
was
want
going
to
to
put that on like the top of an electroculture antenna and like stick that in my garden.
Right. I was going to say, you know, when we were talking about getting the labor force together to build your dome, I think it's really profound that we're talking about nesting and Topher's making the dome. You know, I love that phrase that, you know, the man builds the house and the woman makes the home.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that phrase. That's such a potent truism. But I was thinking about something I learned as a furniture mover for many years. The most class act job that I ever took was moving a fella, you know, very, very well off. And when we went in to meet him and size up the job, just to, you know, get an idea of what was going to be demanded of us that day, he kind of shows us, you know, all the rooms and all the beds and all the furniture. And that in that moment, your movers are communicating to each other psychically right in front of you. So you're showing them this big ass bed and all the things, and the movers are looking at each other like, yeah, okay. And then they look at the door, they look at the hallway, and then they look and they're like, okay, we can do that. There's like this psychic thing between the movers that they're planning in advance. We get done with him showing us what's expected of the day, and he turns to us and he slaps $20 in our hands in advance.
Nice.
He tips us before the job. Mm-hmm. And something about accomplishing that rapport at the beginning of the day's labor was the highest grade class act I've ever worked for. And it's amazing how it greases the wheels if it's done in advance. And we were talking about this after the job. We were like, because he tipped us at the end as well, very, very soundly. So the $20 was just a warm up. That was to cover the lunch break. You know what I mean? And then he tips us again at the end. But we were kind of talking about, you know, I have heard, this is in the food industry, they say that TIPS, tips, it stands for to ensure prime service. Mm. And we were chewing on that. To ensure, the tip is an insurance policy. Mm. Prime service. And then I realized that means that it should take place at the beginning. If you
that's why they circumcise you as soon as you're born. They take the tip to ensure that they have a level of magical control over you for the rest of your life. It's their insurance.
That's perfect.
Home run, Chance. Home run, buddy.
That's perfect. Well, they got a big insurance policy for me then. Shit.
Well, they take a whole inch or what?
At least.
That just means you have more.
Is that just what you told the ladies? Like your excuse, or?
I didn't have to tell them. Oh, dude, that's so good.
Slick, I love what you're saying because I'm starting to experience the onset firsthand. And my son, he's 2 years old and 2.5, and he's pretty advanced, and he's really coming along with helping me out, moving stuff around. So I could pick up this 2x4, but he won't get out of the way. He wants to move it with me. Okay, fine. Well, you grab that in, buddy, and I grab this in. And as a little boy, I'm becoming aware of how he's becoming aware of his spatial concept as a young male. And if you've ever tried to move furniture with your significant other as a man, you could tell, you could get things in the door and things can be done, but there's always a little psychic friction, right? That isn't always that same that's there with men unspoken because of that spatial concept. In any case, I'm becoming aware of how he's developing it. And giving him the opportunity to be helpful and being patient with him as he's doing it. And it's actually really, really cool and fun to watch.
That's awesome. Yes. There is a lot to the fact that, that's particularly as an experienced mover, something that, I developed, I always had it, but now it's like laser sharp, is, sensitivity to, what's going on behind you. And so I always had that most of my life, but becoming a mover made it like incredibly keen. So I always say that I have eyeballs on my elbows and I have eyeballs on my heels. I got eyeballs in the back of my head. And that's something that as a kiddo, that's probably good for him to be the one doing the backwards walking. You know, so often in furniture moving, somebody's got to do the backwards maneuvers. But yeah, there is also something about, for some reason, like our female clientele are more likely to put the workout equipment in the most difficult location in the house, and they're just like, yeah, go put it in in the tiny little door, go around the corner, down the hallway, and you're just like, you're just making an impossible obstacle course. But somehow the male clientele is just like, leave it there, fellas, that's good enough. I'm not going to put you through the gauntlet. But yeah, there is something to the masculine appreciation for shapes and forms and logistics around that.
That just happened to me today. I donated an old refrigerator. It was massive, that I've had ever since moving back to the States. And my new neighbor, she doesn't have any power at her place, but she bought a place in town. And so we scheduled the whole thing today. So I got the dolly out. I had another guy help me. We did the straps, because this is like one of those older fridges that's like really heavy. And we're moving it into place and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, come now. She just walks down the road. She doesn't bring her truck or trailer. Like she didn't. I'm like, no, get the truck and the trailer. Like they're like that feminine, like not knowing the order of operation, especially like when you're moving heavy stuff, like to your point, Gabe, like we literally have this 300 pounds like block of steel that we're moving, and she's just like moseying down the road like, oh, la-di-da-di-da. I was like, no, like, so I feel your pain on that. I could only imagine doing that professionally, some of the obstacles that you've had to go through.
Okay, I'm gonna pivot our subject matter here. Kyle, I know there's been some stuff that you've been looking into lately because you're always on, current research and studies. What's been on your plate of late?
What's been on my whiteboard?
Yeah. Everybody show your whiteboards.
Yeah. Let me show you my whiteboard. All right.
Yeah, Daddy.
Okay.
Check you out.
This is really something that's on my mind. I'm going to try and show this out.
All right.
Okay.
So are you joining the Great Whiteboard Brotherhood officially?
In an older life, I was in the ancient order of the Great Blackboard Brotherhood, where we worked on slate boards and we used chalk. But there was some sort of cataclysmic event, and since then I've reincarnated into the Great Whiteboard Brotherhood. And so
choice.
I saw there's this herbal teacher that that died in the 90s, and it was before my time. But he was the teacher to my teacher and many other prestigious teachers. His name is William Lasassier, and a lot is spoken about him, but he didn't write a lot. And I get the feeling that he was kind of like a slick dissident of the herbal world. Like he was a polymath. He had a lot of psychic capabilities. One of the things that lives on in his teaching is facial diagnostics, which is something that I use a lot. So this part of the face means this type of thing when you see these. And that's something that goes from Chinese medicine and everything like that too. But anyway, William Lasassier, there's a picture of him that's the only picture that I could find posted online. And he's got his shirt off and his like 1980s short shorts, and it looks like he's in the desert or something like that. And he's got this chalkboard behind him. And on the chalkboard, he's got these triangles and he's kind of like, he's got this energy. And I'm like, man, what is going on with that? So I was looking into that, and it turns out that he developed this system called the trigone formulation. And so I was really interested in that. But again, I'm only kind of extracting bits and pieces from what I can hear and from what other teachers have learned about it. But it seems to me that nobody is really practicing this formula anymore. So I'm really trying to put it back together. But the story goes, according to William, from what I heard, is that one day he was fighting with his wife, and his wife, he decided to sleep on the couch that night, and he was all grumpy. And that night, Pythagoras came to him in a dream, or Pythagoras visited him on the couch or something, and he taught him about this system called the trigone formulation method. And that's what I'm trying to, let's just say, reverse engineer based on things that I've heard. And so basically you have a triangle, and within the triangle, I'm not going to get too nerdy. It's very nerdy formulation stuff, but within the middle of the triangle is the gravity of the situation. So let's just say chronic back pain. And then you have...
I kind of want the full nerd level.
All right. I'll go a little bit more in depth.
You don't have to hold back.
Okay.
I'm considering drawing this to follow along on my whiteboard.
Okay. So you have the gravity of the situation, and these are all isosceles triangles. And within this, you have 3 parts of an herb that he marks as positive. So positive, positive, positive. 3 parts negative, 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 and 3 parts 0, 0, 0, or neutral. And from what I've come to understand, that the positive are building herbs. So when we were talking about our baby bump tea, we could talk about the herbs that are in that as like having a net positive to growth. So nettles, raspberry leaf, oat straw, things that are mineral rich. They all have these types of qualities to them. Then you have the tonic herbs, which would represent neutral. So they have an ability to kind of keep the tissues tone or bring them back into the proper function that they are. And then 3 that are cleansing, so that have like a detoxifying effect. So there's herbs that are detoxifying, there's herbs that are building, and there's herbs that maintain the neutrality. And then within that, this gravity touches an ancillary organ system A. So let's just say chronic back pain, say ancillary organ system A, maybe it's related to the kidneys. Ancillary organ system B, it's related to the kidneys. A lot of times have to do with respiration, so lungs as well. And maybe organ system C, the nervous system. Okay, so within that there are herbs that have a positive negative relationship within that positive negative, and then you're bridging these together as well. And all together, your formula can have 18 parts, and it's crazy, it's wild, and it's really, really unuseful for me to make a formula with 18 parts. However, you can reduce those 18 parts down to 3. You know, if you could find 3 that would represent something that would be tonifying to the lungs, and another herb that's tonifying to the nervous system, and so on. So that's kind of what I'm working on, is looking at that. And what I see when I look at this is not necessarily a way of making a formula for a client, but it's actually a really nice way of drawing out the excesses, the dominance, and all the other organ systems that are affected within a person's particular, complaint that they actually come to me for. But the way that I make formulas, and I don't know, like I've never been visited by Pythagoras, but maybe I have, but this is something that I came up with, and I didn't learn it from anyone else, so maybe Pythagoras taught it to me. And that's I make it, and this is something that I learned from Topher. If anything, it's the signaling from nature back to nature. And so my formulas consist of 5 parts. The first is this part of the hand. If my hand was the bottle of tincture, it would consist of this much of ingredient A, this much of ingredient B, this much of ingredient C, and this much of ingredient A. And that comes out to 1 part, 1.5, 2.5, and 4 parts. Or if you measured this is 8 centimeters and 5 centimeters and 3 centimeters, so on. And then because it's phi, because it's an irrational number, I put in the 5th part is the irrational part. So 1 part, 1.5, 2.5, 4 parts, and an irrational part. And the irrational part is maybe a flower essence, a drop dose of a tincture, something that's not in there, but I just want to put the name of the herb in the formulation piece because I want the spirit of that plant to drive it into the feedback that we have with our biogeometry, with our own physicality, and have so when somebody takes a formula like that, it is received, and it's been, since I've been doing this way, I've had incredible success, and it's super, super easy to come up with 4 parts and to think of it that way rather than like blah, 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 18 parts. But I really wanted to nerd out and try to reverse engineer how I was seeing this on the dude's blackboard from the ancient order of the Grand Blackboard Brotherhood. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'm working on right now, and I got some others too, but that's one.
Dude, Pythagoras coming to visit the dude and teach him this alchemy is interesting, because I think Pythagoras is a savior type, like probably older version of a Jesus figure, potentially pure allegory, potentially. And so that, in my opinion, puts him in the category of like Thoth, Hermes, Mercury, Odin, etc. And I've known people that get visited by one of those guys and then have some kind of strange download or new ability unlock. Actually, know a girl who got visited by Thoth. No, it might have been Hermes. I think it was Hermes in her case. They're the same guy, right? That's not even arguable. And after she gets struck by lightning, so does her boyfriend. She gets visited in a dream by Hermes, and then all of a sudden she just starts painting complex alchemical diagrams that are actually accurate to Hermeticism that she doesn't previously know.
That's wild.
About. Yeah, right. So there's something goes on there, like something seeds science into humanity. It's not all just random discovery.
Totally. I love when it's actionable, when, and I love calling it an upload as opposed to a download. I like upload better.
Yo, thanks Marty for that kind super chat. You're in the top 1% of super chatters, man. Nice. And he even bought me dinner the other night. So he's just really supportive, pal. Thanks, buddy. Love you, man.
Big love, Marty.
Say hi to Jen too. Behind every good man is a better Jen. We both have a Jen. It's a good move.
Jedi. Best name I ever heard. Jedi.
That's a wonderful formula you got going, Kyle. I love it. I love the aspect of an irrational ingredient. It makes me think of like
quintessence.
Yeah, and even there often divination or theurgy includes some aspect of the blindfold, or like when you draw lots. Sometimes, like, let's say I have a bunch of straws and one of them is the short straw. Some people are and nobody can tell from the top because the short one is occulted by my hand. But some people are so superstitious that they won't even look at that. They'll look away when they draw the lot, so there's like some part of like giving it over to the unknown, and accounting for the unaccountable. So there's even like a I don't know, a back channel for some sort of unaccountable logos to also be in effect. Yeah, I love that. The irrational.
So have you tried any formulas that are 18 parts? I mean, is that Triforce diagram something that if I understood it would help me comprehend better the relationship between different organs in the body to different plants?
Yes, absolutely. Because
some that went over my head.
Yeah, because some plants are going to have a cleansing effect on certain organs, and they're going to have a toning effect on other organs. Like, for example, turmeric is really cleansing to the liver, but it's toning to the nervous system. So, or vice versa, you can have something that's building in one aspect of the body and cleansing in another. So like nettles is building to like the overall constitution, but it's depleting of the I guess you could say it's cleansing of the kidneys and pathways of the water in the body because it takes out a lot of excess water in the body. So it really does help you understand the relationship for the herb, the organ system, and then how that herb is working with that organ system, and then if that would be applicable to put into the formula based on that greater system, which is, if that makes sense.
Nettles is interesting to me. It's like you know how it is. You find something that works well, it helps you, and then you're like doing better, and then you just like stop doing it for for no reason. But nettles was really giving me like a cup of tea with nettle added to it was really giving me better sleep for a while there. And I kind of fell off. Makes me want to get back into it now that I'm getting the verification that's good for my kidneys. Topher, what do you make of all this alchemy business?
I love it. I mean, I'm such a novice with a lot of it. The only alchemy I ever did was essentially doing reductions of magnetite to pull out precious metals. But that was probably more just chemistry than alchemy per se. I love, speaking of nettles, there's a nettle plant that every morning when I walk my dog that I think is an alien consciousness. Like it is such a strong being. It's almost like, I think I've told you this before, Kyle, like I almost have never gotten into smoking herb because the first few times I saw the full glory of cannabis, I was like, that's an alien. Like that energy was just so bright and beautiful and sparkly. I was just like, just the presence of that being,
Dude, it fills a
was
room.
very much. It's amazing. The plant itself is a lot like what I've experienced with tobacco plants. Like tobacco is like a master plant. Like when you're around tobacco, it's just like, I feel like, this very, very strong father presence. Nettles to me now, because we have these crazy nettles with these purple, like they almost look like we would call it a bobinsana. Have you ever seen a bobinsana, Kyle? It's like or all of you, I don't know, I'm just focusing on saying Kyle. Bobinsana, it's a plant that has this flower where it has these like 3-inch spikes of hot pink that come out from the center of it with yellow tips. And you can make this beautiful tea out of bobinsana in the tropics. Well, this nettle has it's not quite as long of those hot pink tips coming out of it, but it's just like it's spiky leaves and it glistens sort of like the cannabis does. And it's just like, I know, not like its aura and my aura, like I know to keep my distance. Like it wants its space. Like at least that's the way my energetic field is interpreting it. Is just like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna let my dog pee on you or anything like that. Like I give it its space. It's like it's a very strong presence. That's
It's a
pretty
really
much my
powerful feminine energy, so it probably sees you as competition. That was
as a woman. Yeah, I could see that. I'm very feminine in the morning. I'm usually walking in my, my nightie and, my slippers. I could see that.
It sounds a lot like Bilbo Baggins. Bobinsana.
Bobinsana.
Yeah, Chance, can you pull a picture up of it?
Of boba. How do I spell that, Topher?
Wow,
Bobinsana.
Bobinsana, like it might be a Spanish word. We all called it Bobinsana.
Actually, yeah, it's just exactly like it sounds. Bob, it's like Bob in sauna. Like Bob's in a sauna, but with no U.
Yeah.
Just like that. I'll pull this up. Oh, it's very Dr. Seuss looking.
What did they make with it, Topher? You say it's a tea?
It's a tea, and you would also plant it
I know this
around
plant.
whenever you have.
This is I know it as albizia or mimosa flower, and it's so one of the signatures for this is people who have nervous disorders with fluttering eyelashes, So yeah, like they it's almost like they don't want to be seen in their vulnerability. And so they close their eyes and flutter their eyelids a little bit, as if they're trying to shoo away the energy of being seen. And so the bark of this plant and the flower is something that I've worked with for. It actually brings like great joy and just really a lot of gladness. It's a good grief remedy for sure. But I love it for its specificity for somebody who feels uncomfortable being seen, and in regards to like maybe past trauma or pain with that or something like that.
And
Yeah, the shamans.
go ahead.
Sorry. The shamans that I knew in Central America, they would use it after ceremony. Like they would make a tea of Bobinsana as a wonderful like come down and relaxation, and just like you said, it would infuse joy.
Interesting. Bilbo Baggins was dealing with the invisibility factor with that ring,
Yeah.
and not being seen.
Not wanting to be seen, right? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting. Cool. Yeah, the nettle in my garden is it is the tallest. It is the tallest plant, and it gets taller than the elder trees. It gets taller than all the little shrubs that we have, and it stays that way. And even when it has all of its seeds and stuff on it, it's still like just so erect and masculine looking. So one night I was looking at it and it told me, it said, harvest my seeds now for erectile dysfunction. And since then, I've had several clients come to me for erectile dysfunction. So I got an upload from the plant in advance of the medicine that I needed for a lot of the clients. So it's the seed in particular and it's not like this plant is good for erectile dysfunction. It was in their particular cases based on what was causing it, and other cofactors and blah blah blah. But
something I'll add to that occurred to me the other day, because you tune enough people, you start to realize the statistic of how much C-section there is, like a lot, and there's also a lot of ED in the world. And in the biofield, there's frequently a correlation between ED and C-section related trauma, because the C-section predisposes people to like fulfillment, satisfaction issues, because that moment of like, the real releasing and completing of the long-term project of pregnancy and then delivering baby gets instead cut into, interrupted, causing pain instead of causing sort of like this endorphinal pleasure, experience of the natural birth. So anyway, I'm realizing that this is not going to be in the scientific journals anywhere, but there's probably this statistical relationship between ED. I mean, there's other factors too, right? Like pornos and stuff, but ED with all the C-sections that go on in Western countries. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's a brilliant correspondence, Chance. I think you're totally right. Like, it's a strange thing, but it's also true that the birthing process is something of a 9-month prolonged climax. It's not an orgasm, but it is a climax.
Well, and it's all focused in the sacral center, where
Right.
that pleasure energy lives, that satisfaction capacity lives.
You know what? I want to plug that in, that weave. I think that works also into my weave about, because for decades now we've had series. People watch series. There's no catharsis at the end of the night. And in fact, even when you get to the end of a season, that's when the biggest cliffhanger is served up. So they got you on the hook for the next season to come. So there's no catharsis. I think this is profound, that it corresponds to the alchemy of the C-sections taking over, and then all of that leading to erectile dysfunction. That's a huge, vast culture shift to have happened so quickly in the past 20 years.
Even Kyle, I kind of cut in on when Gabe's finished.
Well, I want to point an accusatory finger at the series Lost. Lost was one of the earliest series that I partook in that left me hanging at the end with a sense of incompletion. Very correspondent to everything we're talking about here. And the name of it was like the biggest revelation ever, Lost. Yeah. We lost catharsis way back then.
But I kind of cut in on Kyle's talking about preparing ED medicine for clients if there was more there.
Yeah, you know what? It is kind of weaving in with maybe what Gabe said. There's another, like this time of year, I'm really feeling my statement that I really want to say is I'm back. Like I'm back. I got my saw back from the shop. It was being repaired for several days. I just got all this stuff. I just feel like I'm back. And I can really feel the energy of the Mazzaroth moving into this Libra kidney section, like it really, I feel it in the air and in my body. And I'm getting it on the wind in communication with the plants. And so I've been getting a lot of uploads from the plants. I like that word a lot better too, by the way. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And that's great. And yes, because we're exalting them. This information. And one of them that I've been working with a lot lately is Sumac. And Sumac is the staghorn sumac in particular. Now, there's a lot of poisonous types of sumac, but Sumac is in the rose family. And there's an herbalist named Michael Moore out in the desert. He calls them Yarfas, yet another rose family astringent. So all the members of the rose family have this sucking up quality to them, like raspberry, like rose, but sumac in particular. And it's really sour and it's really astringent. And it's actually one of the oldest forms of plant medicine recorded because it comes from Mesopotamia, allegedly. So anyway, the sumac, there's a lot of signatures for sumac being a tonifying for the kidney essence. And the kidney essence is, when I'm referring to the kidneys, I'm referring to this greater system of the kidneys, which includes the essence that our body gets, and there's the triple treasures. There's the essence, there's the Jing that comes from the Chinese, or I could say the Taoist philosophers. And the Taoist philosophy, natural philosophers, almost identical to Western alchemy in that Taoist philosophy is like the poetry, and Western alchemy, which uses almost the exact same ideas, just different terms, puts it into function and puts it into form. It's the poet and it's the idealist and the poet, right?
It's the poetic and the prosaic.
Exactly, right, exactly. And so the essence, we could say, that comes in through our kidneys is like our mercurial body. The Shin, as it's called in Taoism, resides in the heart. That's our salt. That's our personality. That's where we get our personality. And the Qi is the vital force, which is our prana, which is our sulfur.
No, before you continue, can I ask you what about this, at least visually, might suggest the kidney signature? Does it have to do with like the way these leaves are paired off, like in two sets of two?
That's whenever you see like bilateral, you could think about our bilateral organs, and all the bilateral organs have a relationship with Gemini and Libra, in that Gemini rules the lungs, it rules the expiration, exhalation. Libra rules the kidneys, it pulls and it draws that essence in through the lungs. So the lungs are actually in part ruled by Libra too. So our ears are little microcosms of that relationship between Gemini and the sinuses. And these are like antlers. They're like the staghorn antlers. They even have that velvety ness to them on the stem. And from afar, when you look at them, they look like antlers coming out from the earth. And then they also grow on the periphery between the dense woods and the prairie. And this is stag medicine is the ruler of the parasympathetic sympathetic. I'm going into the private, into the darkness. I'm coming back out into the public to nibble. Look around, always assessing, always on in kind of fight or flight and rest and digest, just kind of like teetering back and forth. And that's the stag medicine, and that's the medicine for the kidneys. So that's one of the signatures. It's more of like a totemic signature, but the kidney essence, like the bones themselves are like, the bones are an extension of the essence. So our essence is our archetypal form and structure. So the essence of a rabbit looks like the skeleton of a rabbit, and the essence of a dinosaur looks like a dinosaur. And the essence of a human has a skeletal form like us. And so the kidneys also have a relationship with our bones. And where am I going with this? Yeah. So anyway, the sumac itself is just a great tonifier of kidney essence, and it's the essence. It's like one of the things I thought about with the essence is that there's the three fates, and one of the fates is the one that measures the cloth and gives you the cloth. And so everybody gets a certain amount of cloth. Some people get less, some people get more. And when that cloth is all used up and you've used every little bit of thread, that's the end of your life force. And so there's that fate. But then when there's also the essence that we can spend, and that goes back and tracks back to erectile dysfunction and the inappropriate spilling and spending, and its most banal description is seminal fluid, but it's really, in my mind, it's the yang kidney essence. And so sumac,
they call that jing, right? That's the jing.
Yeah, that's the jing. And exactly. And so sumac tonifies that, it holds that, it's astringent, sucks it back up, and it also sucks up the I would say the willpower to hold on to that too. In the case of a buck, a young buck, that wants to rut his antlers and show off, and hold on to that vital essence. And so when it comes to working with erectile dysfunction, that's another plant that I've been working with, but not because it's like the gas station version of boner pills or whatever, that's the herbal one, but because it has this relationship with the greater essence of holding things in and tightening things up and responding to the the way that a stag comes out to play at this time of year. If that makes sense.
So
great weaves, man.
I got a joke that just has to be told. I'm pretty sure I months ago here on the channel, but it has to be told. So Father Stag and his young son are up on the hilltop overlooking the prairie and admiring all these lovely doe down at the bottom of the hill, grazing so innocently, so oblivious. And the son, he nudges his dad, big daddy buck, and he says, "Hey, Dad. Psst, psst. Hey, Dad." So, yeah, what's up? What do you say we sneak down there and maybe we could have sex with one of those doe? And the dad is like, "Son, you should be ashamed of yourself. We're going to walk down there in broad daylight and fuck every last one of them."
Woo!
That's good parenting right
I
there.
love that one. I love that one.
That is. I
So I just got this email from Jack Kelly. He was the dude that I had on the pod last night, and it reminded me too, just thinking about your describing the fates and the one that measures out the allotment of the lifespan for an individual. And I noticed when I was reviewing Plato's Timaeus to be prepared for this big Atlantis talk that there's actually that function of measuring out or allotting to an individual is given to the demiurge in Timaeus, where it's more of a description of like the soul of the being that's being cut from the world soul, which is, the property of the Great Father. But I find that interesting how these allegories kind of like expand out. They get these functions of the dynamic forces of nature and the processes of nature get over time attributed to specific characters. I think maybe as memory devices or something to make it a little easier to remember all the different pieces of the puzzle. But that was totally a demiurge functionality And since I'm bringing up Timaeus, I'm bringing up that Jack Kelly episode. We have a great turnout here right now in our live crew. So I want to let everybody know to check out that episode. It's called Solving the Atlantis Puzzle with Jack Kelly. Maybe, in retrospect, shouldn't have called it solving because that implies that it's like over. And really the nature of the conversation, as I was re-listening to it, I was like, you know what? The whole point of this conversation is in the metaphor that Jack gives about visiting these ancient philosophers being like doing pull-ups. And you don't win a pull-up bar. You come back to the pull-up bar and you see how many you can do today. And that's really the mode of interaction with the, with mystery school doctrine in general. But on that note, I do think we did come to some kind of powerful conclusions, at least in dispelling fact from fiction in terms of what was actually said about Atlantis by Plato and how the description of it and the rest of the contents of Timaeus line up so perfectly with the world ages doctrine, with the microcosm, macrocosm, that the entire like concentric ring structure of Atlantis is also identical to the Aristotelian cosmos that is derived straight from Platonism. So I think that's a microcosm, macrocosm thing. Anyway, that and probably the biggest, as Jack called it, punchline for everybody. In case you don't go watch it, but I do recommend it. It was like top shelf philosophy, and that's why I'm bringing it up because I kind of want to hear Gabe's thoughts about it. That in Timaeus and Critias, never once is it said that Atlantis was a continent or island in the Atlantic Ocean. Never the word okeanos is never used. He calls it an Atlantic pelagos, which is an inland, smaller waterway that is not an ocean. And so, like, we've had these Ignatius Donnellys and other pseudo mystics of the last many centuries telling us to go out to the Azores or somewhere in the middle of the ocean and find the lost sunken continent or city. And it's a giant red herring that was never. And you tell people that, and I think some people will have an emotional upset about that. Like, no, I'm sure the Atlanteans came from the Lemurians, and it really was an advanced technology civilization, and they had crystal lasers and yada yada. And I'm like, but where are you getting this from? Because this is just word of mouth telephone game. You ask the same individual, but where does the idea of Atlantis come from? And they might not even tell you Plato, or they might not even tell you Timaeus. There's actually a pretty small condensed story that is the origin for all this pop culture mythos. And I think it's really helpful to just put the brakes on that stuff and go back to the core of like, this philosophy is about teaching you the microcosm, macrocosm of the human being and the universe, and not about you going and digging up an ancient civilization, right? That's more than 2 cents. That was a lot of sense. But what do you guys think about all that?
That was a fire episode. I have to watch it again because it was so rich. And I was even, I felt a little burdened because I knew we were going to talk about it tonight. And I was like, dude, I got to go back and do the Timaeus. I got to work on my pull-ups and be ready. Which I still will do. I totally recommend that. Timaeus is one of those ones for.
He'll be back any second.
Uh-oh.
Isn't it great having him in real time though? Okay, he just blipped, okay. But there you are. You're back. Sorry. Yeah. It's been so good having you in time with us though.
Yeah, buddy. So one nugget that I want to extract from the Timaeus so I can send people to find it more readily, because it's a needle in a haystack. It's like, of all the wisdom that's being said, it just floats across your radar so quick you would miss it. And it actually states that in the process of creation, if any aspect should be excluded from the creation itself, it would be hazardous because it will generate a parallel world. It will create a parallel world. And then he moves on. It says a bunch of other amazing things that are too intense. But if you missed that little line, that is the revelation of the placenta to me, that the exclusion of the placenta is what generates the false government issue ID. And we go into the fictional realm in this parallel world, this whole overlay of the state. And it's right there in the Timaeus. And the Timaeus is an untouchable treasure because Ficino didn't mess with it. It's autonomous from Plato's Republic. And and it stands
Well, and
alone.
let me clarify that, because you're bringing up Ficino and some of the other works, less famous works of Plato. Timaeus is the big daddy writing of Plato. It's the, maybe in terms of like what was known, referenced, circulated, underground, esoteric communities in like the Middle Ages, if there were such a time, it was all about the Timaeus. And then you get this guy Ficino, just like other characters of his ilk during the Renaissance era, these so-called humanists, like Plutarch, that give, they allegedly dig up these hundreds or thousands of year old texts, and they're just like, whoop, we just happen to find this right when they're at the height of their popularity, and trust me, it's legit, and the Pope will give you 100 gold coins for each text, and nothing to see here, folks. Like me and Dylan did a whole Inner World episode about that. But Timaeus does seem to have real roots in antiquity. And it's interesting to note, too, you're bringing up the placenta part of this. That is so apt of a dig, because it's not explicitly said, of course. Neither is there explicit reference made to an ark. But there is reference to the cycles of cataclysm, deluge, and conflagration. And of course, the Atlantis story is one of those deluge stories. And soon as you're in the realm of that, mythologically speaking, you're in the realm of eggs, boats, etc., Noah, Deucalion, all of the above. And so the ark being clearly in the microcosm, the micro of microcosms of a human life, being the boat that you come in on through the waters of the deluge into the new world, that is the placenta 100% of the way. So like it's there, but it's like the base, deepest level of the whole mystery. And I just think it's cool that like we're maybe some of the only people that ever even extract that, but it's so true.
It's so true. It's amazing. 100%, baby. I got to say, concentric rings are a visual pun for the centa place, the placenta. And the centa place of Atlantis, it's telling you the recipe for the placenta right there.
Oh, you go look at the guy George Serentitis, the guy who came up with the whole map to Northwest Africa, looking for the physical location of Atlantis in Jack's documentary. And he tries to do the geometry described in Timaeus of Atlantis. And man, it's a circular shape with then like, this canal that leads to it, or this waterway. It's basically an umbilicus and a cake, Yeah, let's get the gentleman below in on this, and we're hogging the talk, but this is really fun for me and him.
Chance, will you pull up the graphic I sent last night to you while they're talking? Because I think that's a fun little artistic share.
Topher, I got a question for you about biochar. Actually, if you're since you're the biocharismite, once we're done with this, wow,
nice. Look at Slick Dizzy. That's right.
Dude, this is so real though. Seriously think that that's the matrix, man. Matrix is the womb. It's just wombs all the way up. Die here, born into another life, but that life is the dream you're having in the womb of the next life, and it goes on in an infinite recursion. Why not? I think so.
That's great.
Okay, Biochar.
It's got.
So,
what's going on, Kyle?
Yeah, biochar. All right. So, have you ever consumed biochar? Is it something that you've done?
Yeah, I consume it pretty much every day because I use it in a toothpaste, and so I have a little sodium bicarbonate, calcium bentonite clay, biochar, and usually like some sort of peppermint essential oil, and that's my toothpaste that I make, and then I just eat it. Like I don't spit anything out.
Yeah, that's cool. That's righteous. I just had, I mean, there's so much activated charcoal in the market, and people use that for, quote, binders and, bringing in positively charged whatever. But yeah, that makes sense to use it in a small amount. But yeah, I was thinking about, because I've never really thought about it until I've been making it recently, and I've been chewing on it once in a while, and I just get the urge to go all in and do kind of like a biochar cleanse of some kind. Is that something that you've ever worked with or tried?
Yeah, yeah, I have a product called Blackface AIDS, which is which is I take very finely ground biochar. I mix it with coconut sugar and then cayenne pepper, and that combination is what I'll put on a tablespoon, and then I'll put turpentine on top of that, and I'll take that as a cleanse, as a 30-day cleanse. And that's amazing stuff. Like, I'm about to go into all of you blacked out. We were all blacked out. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear us?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good.
So yeah, I take that. That's an amazing parasite cleanse. It's a la Dr. Daniels with the real blackface. That you take you take sugar and you essentially douse the sugar with turpentine.
Yep.
But I found with the cayenne is in the biochar, my body has like zero negative effects when I do that. I get a very enlivened effects. Whatever wants to leave, I'm giving it a pathway to leave pretty quickly when I do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm about to do my first enema. I've never done a liver enema before. And a friend of mine, Frankie, he has a company where he uses his dowsing rods to like kind of tune into what coffee bean will be like the best bean for a person's health, like relative to doing these green coffee enemas. And so like the last 6 months, I've been coaching him up on different types of beans because I know a lot about coffee beans. And so he'll use his dowsing rods, and it's really cool because he doesn't ever do batch sourcing. He does single sourcing. And so I'm going to try it. I've never done an enema before, so this will be an event for me. The last time I did like a real liver cleanse was about 15 years ago, so I'm way overdue. But I'm looking forward to I feel now, because now with the eclipse last night in Pisces, my whole energetic body with the waters of my body is like, okay, like it's all free flow time now. So I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I'm a little bit nervous. I've always been a little bit resistant to it, so I know I need it.
I love it.
Yeah, like you're funny because you're a guy that drank your own urine before you would do an enema. That seems like more intense, but it's probably not. It's probably much less invasive to do the shivambu. And then so on the topic of the eclipse last night, it was funny that we were premiering this deep Atlantis Plato talk. Kaylee, our court astrologer, she told me that the very basic symbolism of the moon being with Neptune in Pisces, co-present with Saturn, while you're discussing separating the grounded reality from the fantasy about Atlantis, while Jupiter is squaring it from Gemini, it made like the philosophical discussion of separating mystery and delusion from fact very profound. I was like, nice. So I'm loving being in sync with the sky clock. And then another thing about the biochar, I don't know if you heard back, or you heard this yet, but they're working on your prototype. My mom's got this stainless steel company. They do custom fabrications and stuff. They're hooking you up with the free first prototype.
I got the email today. I can go pick it up whenever. So this is really, I'm having like a lot of completion cycles happen for me now, which is really nervous. Like, like speaking of like my biochar reactor, like I've been working on like a personalized biochar reactor for.
I just think it's too cool if it works out that you can start mass producing your biochar invention from my mom's steel company. Like that would just be the coolest alignment of life, man. Maybe can I go pick it up? That way you have to come see me. That way we can hang.
Oh, definitely. I every time I'm in Springfield, I come see you.
That's true.
Yeah, like it's love, man. It's that vibration where, like, you know, I connected with you with your podcast way before you had any concept of who I was, and I could just tell the vibration. Like I could feel where that was. I was like, man, this is like a really cool dude, and it just makes so much sense. And then the first time I met you and Jenny, like I just could feel the through line. I could just like there was a throughput line the entire way. So it's no mystery to me that there's this good connection. And I gotta say,
I was
really
catching up on your pod, and you were talking to someone, and you're like, I have this group of peers that are all content producers, and we don't listen to each other's stuff. And I was like, I'm listening to your stuff right now. I've been trying to keep up. I feel the same way. Your pod is super good vibes too. Very good stuff. Takes one to know.
Well, the full point I was making though is that real men are like our red blood cells. We have zeta potential. So real men as the positive pole, we're always like exuding and pushing energy out. And so like what I've noticed in healthy male relationships, the way we relate to each other is almost like it's broing out, but it's also like kind of pushing the other to get better, because that's like our zeta potential. We're the positive pole. We're pushing and pushing and pushing. So like
another way of putting that is like,
I'm always,
we look at who's the best at a thing in our group of males, and we're like, that's the standard. Whereas like the femininity, feminine energy tends to be like, who is having the hardest time, and let's kind of circle around that, you know, and help that person out. So it's sort of like it's the two ends of the spectrum. The masculine, the yang is like, where's the top? Let's go there. The feminine is like water flowing down to the low point. And that's not, it's not knocking on women, but that's kind of their tendency. And we both have masculine and feminine properties, but what you're saying is totally true. Like real masculine companionship it raises the lowest common denominator in that for the whole group. Like that's how we operate.
and what I'm seeing is like my peers, they're all crushers. You guys are all busy because you got shit to do. Like I got a lot of things to do. I'm running 3 companies. It's just like I got a lot to do. So I don't like if I'm going to give attention and pay attention to something, it has to be like decently like what I would consider like up to my standards. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I think we all kind of make each other better. And a lot of people that I'm speaking to, at least in the peer group of like my channel, is like, I'm trying to motivate these men to like get off their ass and like crush. Like, let's like stop overthinking things. No paralysis by analysis. Let's go. Like, just fail forward. Like, if you're going to make mistakes, who cares? Just go. So that's sort of like the energy that I try and imbue.
Big time. Yeah, man. You know, on that comment, the females are spiritual communists. That's a great comment. I've heard somebody say once that
said by a woman too.
By a lady. Yeah. Big up, big up. I've heard it said that communism belongs exclusively within the family, and that it does have a place in the private amongst your most intimate relationships and blood relation, and
Yeah, that's the mama with her cubs. Like, make sure everyone's included. Make sure everyone gets a cookie. Like,
yes,
that's proper. It should be that way.
yes. But then, as soon as we expect the government to be a member of the family, is when things get really problematic. So yeah, I love that.
Yep. Yeah, no problem giving the last bite of my favorite food to my kids, right? But
not to my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, I would for like my child, in the future. But when the wife is like, "Can I have a bite or a piece of that?" I'm always just like, "I'd rather you get an entire one for yourself, and I get what you don't eat, than me give you one bite of my thing." Can you guys relate to that?
It's the other way around in my house.
Maybe that's my 7 shadow of gluttony coming out. Enneagram 7. Kyle, you brought up Sumac, but we didn't listen to the song.
Yeah.
Can we play that? Can you
dude,
introduce this?
So I have this cool little device that you hook up just electrodes to a plant. You can hook it up to anything really, but it's intended for plants. And it takes the electrical signal that they emit and it converts it into a MIDI signal. So then I take that MIDI signal and I plug it into my GarageBand on the computer here, and we listen to the plant's song. Like, that's it. It's just the song that the plant has made based on its electrical signal. And when I listen to the plant with my headphones in real time, it makes one sound. But if I plug it in and the plant can hear itself through a channeled instrument, it actually starts to sing more and more and more and more. And there's some other things that can affect it. When birds land on it, when the sun shines on it, when you give it water, when you give it love, when you give it attention, when you thank it, when you give it gratitude. There's some plants that have like more, like the yucca, or like cactuses have a lot of like electrical energy. A lot of times we think about needles of a cactus as like Martian, but I think a better way of thinking about that is thinking about the cactus from inside out, and those are the communication signals. That's the mercurial antennas. So anyway, I plugged it up to Sumac because I'm compiling a bunch of songs for. We have gallery night at the neighborhood that my shop is at, and all the stores are open and they all have artists, and I was just like, it's such a pain in the ass to get somebody and then I have to hang up their art. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. It's me. I'm the artist. And I'm just going to record all these plant songs.
You're such an Aquarius.
And so I did. So I got just a little sample of 40 seconds of Sumac for you. So that's it.
Cool, man. Great introduction.
Thank you.
I'm excited. All right, we're going to hear this now. Here we go.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude,
So,
that
yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, you can. I could loop that. I could put my own track down underneath that, or bass line. You can make a melody to it. I could play that back to the plant and see if the plant wants to play something like that too. So that's what I've been having fun with a lot lately. Is this just playing with the plant sounds that are based on the electrical anatomy of the plant, and then bringing tuning forks into it too. That's another one. That's another one that you can do to incorporate the. I don't know. I have a hard time understanding what they're telling me, but then again, I'm kind of doing it through my artistic, rational mind right now, and when I hold space for my heart mind, which basically holds the rational mind, by the way, That's when it becomes really fun and playful. And that's when I don't record it the most. But yeah, that's one of the fun little projects that I'm putting together just as a little art project.
Over, you all right? You've been blipping in and out of existence.
Yes.
Awesome. Man, that's just great. The Sumac song. I'm going to look forward to more of those. I actually did not know that's what we were getting into. I thought it was going to be like a Kyle Denton signature jingle. But, that was great too.
Thanks. Yeah, that's the Sumac.
Lipped out.
So I've always, my family, we have an immunity to poison ivy and also to poison sumac. And when I was a kid, I learned this. In the first thing I did was I went out in the backyard and I hacked a sanctuary out of a gigantic sumac bush because I knew that anybody who tried to infiltrate my sanctuary, that they would get some sort of sumac rash. But is that a thing? Like, what does poison sumac do? Is it only like topical from brushing on it, or do you have to get the juice on you to get the sumac?
It's definitely spiritually involved. The back in time when there was just the etheric qualities of life and the astrology started to come in and human beings started to form and started walking all over the place, the main delegates of the plant families went down to the astral center of the earth and petitioned the creator and said, hey, these people are walking all over. I know that you love them, and then they're your favorite thing. And the creator took note of it and said, okay, I'll make justice for it. And the next day, poison ivy came up out of the ground. And so it was it's a jurisdictionary. It is a boundary, and it's on the greatest lesson of it all is that it's awareness medicine. So if you're aware and you have relationship, then maybe that's the reason why you and your family have that immunity. At least that's the only way that I can explain it. So yeah. But some people, they say, oh, if I'm downwind of it bothers me. And it's like, well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's some greater lesson for you then too, walking around like that. But yeah, that's what I think of.
Gabe, tell us about some of your recent work. I caught up with the newest installation. I thought it was wild that yet again we had some syncretic overlap in the content we were putting out on the same day as each other for a couple weeks in a row now without pre-planning or discussing that ahead of time.
Yeah, very, very synchronous. So yeah, you guys, when I happened to tune in, the topic that you were on at that moment was about the Strait of Gibraltar. And nice. So the Strait of Gibraltar is on the 37-degree parallel, which is the equinox line of my territories map. And I have accumulated a list of locations on the 37-degree parallel. And it's such a fun list that as soon as I remember half of it, I forget the other half. And there's all just really neat locations and events along that map. But the Strait of Gibraltar is one of them.
I live on the 37, baby.
Yeah, you and Topher both. 37, yo. Yeah. I learned today that my favorite campsite in Colorado is just on the foot of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. And sure, Sangre de Cristos are right on the 37-degree map, parallel. But it's also the Mason-Dixon line. And it threads across all the way to Afghanistan. And this is kind of commemorated with Afghani ganja. Any strain of ganja that is woven with the genetics of Afghani ganja is required because the market that was sourcing the seeds was intending to plant them here on the United States at the same parallel because of the light cycles of the sun. And so Afghani ganja rides on this 37-degree parallel that also goes through the Straits of Gibraltar. It's so neat. So yeah, that was kind of some of the correspondences. But then 37 is the 12th prime number. And it also does really neat things when you multiply the numbers that equate to, do I have it nearby? No, it's somewhere else. Oh, no, here it is. Here, I've got it right here. When you multiply 37 by numbers that are derivatives of the 369 sequence, you can see 3 times 37 gives you the 111. The 6 times 37 gives you the 222. 9 times 7 gives you the 333. And even 12, which reduces to a 3 again, does the same pattern. So 369 all the way down has this really fascinating reaction to the 37, the number 37.
That is far out, dude.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And so often I'm thinking about,
Flipped out.
I guess, how do I say this? The social engineers, the Mason-Dixon line. Nice. Yeah. I always wonder, like, what was it about the Mason-Dixon line that had to be there? And PK has actually done some research on this, that originally they wanted it to be at the 40-degree markation. But then there were some other land disputes elsewhere. And so over time, it kind of had to be settled. But if you look on a map of the United States, it's still pretty much visible in the political map. You can almost see how the 37-degree marcation is almost, it's still there despite history. So yeah, that was some of the weaves that I was on around the 37. And also, Gurdjieff has 2 laws. He has the law of 7 and the law of 3. So yeah. And then one more thing I just want to say, like you were saying how Kaylee said that the stars were lining up just perfect for your conversation. With that eclipse coming right near Neptune on the bridge between Pisces and Aries. I just want to share something I've discovered. I've been playing with Stellarium a lot. And I just discovered that the South Taurid meteor showers, they've been going on for a couple months now, and they have a pinnacle climax. The peak of this very long-lasting meteor shower, it climaxes on November 5th. The 5th of November, Election Day, is every year Election Day wavers a little. But the 5th of November every year is the pinnacle of expression for this Taurid meteor showers. And this is fascinating. So I looked a little closer at the details, because the Taurid meteor showers kind of fades in and out over its cycle, and apparently it migrates ever so slightly. But I was looking at it, and I'm not sure why they call it the South Taurid meteor showers, but it's actually in the tail of Cetus, the sea monster. And this exploded with meaning for me, because I see the Cetus sea monster as Leviathan from Job 41. And I'm very sure that for a million reasons I've already forgotten. But what's neat is that Leviathan is the infernal name of envy. It's the number 4 personality type, has a shadow of envy. And in the infernal spirits, Leviathan's name means envy. And that's nifty in and of itself, because the presidential nominees are people we're supposed to envy. They're supposed to be model citizens. Way back was on a book that's name was Leviathan. And so the social contract of everybody goes to do your civil service, somehow is getting a call sign in the heavens on the week of elections every year. It's really, really fascinating. So the meteor
When do
showers.
Australians do their elections? Because theirs is mandatory. No, there's like some
Yeah.
places where that it is like civil service, like you have to do it.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So just when I thought that everything on my on the sequence of events on the zodiac were perfect and linear, I start dabbling with these meteor showers. And the meteor showers are kind of like a game of whack-a-mole that happen on the same day every year. And so the fact that the meteor showers are like some of them, at least 20 of them so far, are like clockwork. For me, this really firmly puts me in the geocentric, because that shit doesn't make any sense in heliocentric. But it also, I feel like this is kind of, I think this is the Forge of Hephaestus. I think this is the Gordian's knot. I think this is the riddle of riddles to figure out how these meteor showers have the same expression like clockwork every year. And we're still searching out to see if there's any drift, but I don't think there is any drift. So yeah, this is my new fun. And then I watched my own video and I realized I'm seeing a million little encodes going back to Karate Kid, the first Karate Kid movie, where Daniel LaRusso, he puts the hose above Johnny while Johnny's in the bathroom rolling up a joint. And then Daniel LaRusso is dressed up as a shower. He's dressed up as a shower. That was his costume. And then he turns on the water and hits Johnny, it pisses him off. And then he goes running out of the dance. And he gets chased by skeletons. The Cobra Kai clique, they were dressed as skeletons. And they all start beating his ass. And then Mr. Miyagi comes creeping over the fence like a ninja. And I watched the scene over again. Turns out Mr. Miyagi is a low shot artist. He does like a double uppercut to the balls. He kicks the other guy directly in the balls, puts him on the ground, and then stomps on his balls. It was like 6 ball shots in one fight scene.
It's been a while, but I think Mr. Miyagi's a shady character. I'm interested how your whack-a-mole game with the meteor showers is putting you on a geocentric, probability. I like that. Even the most mainstream of mainstreamers in the science trademark tend to admit that geocentrism explains our cosmological observations terrestrially as well as heliocentrism, then without a lot of the problems that heliocentrism introduces, of course. So check this out, guys. This is the end to the upside down cosmos by our buddy Mark Gober. This book just came out. We'll see. I think the first time I talked to Mark was back in March, and we talked about the end of upside down medicine, virus theory problems, virology problems, and we talked about what else was in that first episode? Oh, consciousness, of course, like how this science trademark does not comprehend consciousness or a mind first universe cosmology. And in that talk, I was like, Mark, after we were done, I was like, the next book you got to check out, you got to get into the whole geocentrism, heliocentrism question. If you're upwriting upside down paradigms of thought, you got to look at that. And he's like, I've thought about, maybe I will. I haven't really looked into it that much. And that was in March. This book came out in early September sometime. Or maybe even like late August. So just think about that timeline. He turned this around really fast, and it's just as quality a research as any of his other works. I highly recommend getting into this or wait until the audiobook comes out. It's one of the best cosmology books you can get, where it's not about telling you what it is, but it's about bringing really important questions to the table about what doesn't work in the mainstream model and alternate possibilities that do work. Mark Topher, he'd be a good one for Biocharisma, man. He's got a lot of great stuff out there.
Yeah, we've talked a couple times.
Oh yeah, you're
Friday,
both in the Friday group, yeah.
The Friday group, and
that's a secret
he
society.
reached-
You guys don't know, didn't hear us mention that.
Yeah, he reached out after my presentation about cosmology, actually, that I did a decently long presentation for them. And he was he was really captivated by it. So yeah, I like Mark. I haven't read any of his work. I don't know his work other than what just like talking to him. So
You know,
that's
it's like
something that
it could be a little entry level on some of the topics if you've been researching the truth for years. I'm not saying it's not good, but like his work is awesome to hand to somebody that's opening up the mind to ask questions about a topic, because he just like sweeps the whole subject matter, grabs the data. It's very like evidence based. It's kind of like he's like a reporter. Super good. I like it as just a resource, especially if because for like germ theory, there's this Don's book is great, but like it's very thick, and
yeah.
that's it's all good. It's all good, but maybe something more like this thick would be a good starter for somebody that's opening their mind to the virology lie or whatnot. So yeah, Mark just distills
Yeah,
stuff down really nicely. What did
that's
you talk?
great.
What did you present on? Like, was this about like, uh, what was your subject matter? I want to learn about it.
I I
I'm
was
always busy on
presenting
Fridays, so I never actually go.
I was presenting the correspondences between the Mazzaroth and the body, and my take on cosmology was pretty much morphed because of what I was finding in my bodywork sessions with people. Because I was finding I was only like going on tropical in the tropical system. I was getting like a 60 to 70% accuracy for about 10 years, because in the way I was taught Ayurvedic massage is a lot of times where you feel the most density in a person is wherever the sun is in their birth chart. And that's because the sun is like, you could think of that as like a plasmatic like microscope. It magnifies, it intensifies that area of your body. So I feel that like when I'm touching people, there's an intensity, there's a greater intensity. But my accuracy was off by a percentage that I didn't like. And so I thought I was wrong, or I wasn't doing it correctly, or I wasn't really, I didn't think I had the correct sensitivity. And then when I switched on to the real sky astrology through John Lamb Lash, the Celestics, and that he brought in like actually looking at the sky. Because before that, when I did astrology, I didn't really look at the sky. And for 3 years, I took his courses where I essentially learned how to be like a seaboat captain, and I had my sextants and all the things, and like I learned a few things that the sky is extremely interactive with you when you watch it. Like, and
Sextants,
that was
which
kind of,
by the way, sextants require a flat plane.
yeah.
Like they don't work on a curve.
Yeah, I was actually like having these great interactions first when I was in ceremony. And then I thought, oh, that's only DMT that's doing that. That's just that. But then I had the majority of my interactions with the sky were sober. And I'm normally a sober person. Like I don't choose to augment my reality all that much. And so I was having these incredible interactions with the sky, and then I was feeling the correspondences in my body. And so when I switched over to actually being very conscious of what is actually going on in the sky and not using like the law of averages, I got my accuracy level with my clients up above 90%. I'm not perfect by any means, but I could like very, very like I can pretty much when I'm working with somebody, I can almost I can tell what time of year that they were born, and depending on what epoch of their life they're in, and all these types of things, that all kind of switches, and the polarity switches and things like that. So that's really what I presented. And so it was great because Dr. Andy Kaufman, he was grilling me pretty hard because he's a skeptic. And we actually became friends after that. You know, I liked the level of skepticism that was in the communication. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was
like
awesome.
truth is welcome to interrogation. It's
Yeah.
lies that die under the weight of details.
Yeah. And that's the thing with everything that I've done, I have like real world, like it's not something that I've just had some sort of data given to me. Like I've been in practice doing Ayurvedic massage and polarity therapy. Well, specifically Ayurvedic body work for 24 years. You know, in India, they say you don't get good till you're 30 years into your practice. And I kind of believe it. Like I kind of, you know, I'm kind of at the point of where like just now I feel like, oh, I can follow this thread and like, you know, before it was just a lot of activity, a lot of want to and a lot of activity and a lot of like, you know, just wanting to be a help, you know, but not much like sensitivity and skill. And so it's just something that experience brings. And it's something that I'll always do. I love being with people. Like I have my table right here. I just love that level of intimacy, like intimacy. Like, you know, I got to work on Jenny. I'd love to work on you at some point.
You've worked on me before,
Where
but I
have
mean, I
I?
could. Yeah. You crunched me up pretty good. And with
Yeah.
Jennifer, because it
Oh,
was
that's
early.
right. That's right.
With Jen, it was
That was
earlier
only
in
like
her.
a
I mean, I'll take more, but it was earlier in her pregnancy that you did some polarity work on her, which is like very,
mhm.
maybe I'm describing this hopefully correctly, but very like not invasive, not imposing any will on the person's body. It's more like you describe it as witness, like hands-on witness to what the body wants to do, and then like giving the body the permission sort of to make its own shifts through this electrical, connecting. You're touching the certain spots with one hand and the other hand. And my point in bringing this up is you did that for Jennifer earlier in her pregnancy, and we've been going to a chiropractor for her that, this chiro aligns with our level of woo. So we're like cool with her. And uh, she could tell that Jennifer had had that work done and that it had made like a certain difference in a positive way. Like you really do have you've got the touch, man. It's good stuff. Appreciate that help.
Yeah, it's one of these things where it taught me neutral. Like I needed to learn neutral. Like my younger life, I was so polarized in the positive direction, where it was willpower. Positive is outward is will. And I needed to be humbled quite a bit and like learn to listen. And that's why like when I hear the plants, like I don't know much about plants, but the one thing I've been cultivating in my consciousness for quite a long time is just learning how to listen. And so I don't necessarily know what's being said to me all the time, but like I know that there's a signal coming, like a strong or a weak signal, and I usually have like the proprioception to know how to appropriately interact with the strength of signal. And so that's for me like my love in all the things that I do is like, are the structures appropriately signaling the environment? Am I appropriately signaling my client? Am I receiving the signals appropriately? Like, is all this interchange coming through the neutral center, or is there, somebody's will being enforced or impeded upon? Like, these are the things that I think is like the throughput line with what I do in all the different domains.
Beautiful, man.
You know,
Oh, go ahead, Gabe. I
yeah,
want you to respond.
I got a story to share, Topher, about remaining neutral in the therapeutic environment. I just told this story about a week ago, so it's fresh on my mind. When I was new to massage therapy, I was taking on some of my parents' friends and coworkers as clientele on donation
Hmm.
basis, even, and there was one woman who was a coworker of my mother who was and is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Um,
Mm.
with I think she's Taiwanese, she's very petite frame and just lovely, lovely lady. And there was always like, and she was on the younger side. She's older than me, but there's a little sexual tension there. And you know, but whatever. All that aside, she decides to come and receive a massage on my table, and I'm still, still kind of new to the ropes. And I'm going through the moves. I got the blankets and the sheets, and I'm tucking in all the perfect spots so that nobody is exposed. And I've I've moved on to the head, and I'm reaching in cranial sacral, the atlas bone of the
Hmm.
head. And then I look up, and something about my sheet work was not perfect. There's a nipple staring at me right now. And it was just it was just there all of a sudden. I don't know if she moved or I didn't do this. And so I'm and she doesn't notice, but only I notice. And it's staring at me and I'm staring at it. And I have I have maybe I have like three choices. I can choose to like discreetly reach down and put the blanket over the nipple. But if I do that, it'll be really obvious that it was out in the first place. And
Hmm.
so instead, what I decided to do, and this is all, just in a split second,
Is this why you
I,
guys get into massage?
oh man, this is exactly how you get kicked out of massage. So what I did was the mental shift. I just neutralized the sexuality of the whole situation. It just is only
Hmm.
as meaningful as I choose to make it.
Yeah.
And so I just, pulled the bottom out from under the charge, and it was nothing. It was just became nothing. But it also became a really good story to teach other people in the future that when a nip
Hmm.
jumps out, it doesn't mean anything unless you make it mean something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that just goes to show the power that thought has to charge anything on any kind of emotional energy level. I mean, think about
Hmm.
the saddest you ever were in your life. Usually, that wave of sadness comes on after you have a specific thought that then you accept that thought is valid. Like, I'll never see them again, or I'll never do this again. It's always like two in these kind of not always, but it's often in kind of an absolute sort of depiction too. And even in the story you're telling, it's the absolute that you discharged and put back into neutrality, or a different realm of possibility, was probably like nipple equal sexy. So you like removed the absolute of that. It's just a body part. It's a great story, but I'm
Hmm.
missing Kyle. I would like to catch up with what you're thinking about with all these things we've brought up. Maybe even if in the course of your next monologue, tell me how tuning people is going for you.
Tuning's going great. I've been loving to incorporate the herbs. I've been incorporating like parts of plants even too, like rattles from the honey locust tree. I call them rattles. They're just the seed pods. Things like that. The teasel plant, which is a plant that is used to tease wool, and as a wand, all kinds of stuff like that. And then, when I do in-person client work, I don't do tunings in person, but when I do in-person client work, I do a lot of diagnostics with just writing on a piece of paper the plant, as I'm doing pulse testing and other, let's just say, room vibe shifts. And I put the plant into the person's hand so that they can't see it. And So I've known for a long time that just the writing of the word of the plant can, and inserting that into the intention of the state alters the effects. And so I've been experimenting a lot with just bringing plants. I mean, the other thing too is that as I'm learning the biofield anatomy, I'm starting to categorize a lot about the archetypical plant spirits that kind of like oversee some of these. This is, I guess it's an arbitrary relationship that maybe not, maybe there's an objectivity to it. It's something I'm exploring. But an example is the oak. The spirit of the oak is the ruler of the left knee. The oaks have little kneecaps as hats, you know, and they're very Saturnian. They're very Capricornian. They're actually also Aquarian, so it's like where kind of Capricorn meets Aquarius, because they're the most struck by lightning and all this stuff too. The name of the plant is Quercus. So anyway, the left knee of the biofield is like the banks of the shore. It needs to be shored up. We need to have some tightness in order for that current to flow, and so the oak is an archetype for tone, for shoring up, for holding things together. This is where we get tanning of hides and deer skins and everything is on the oak tree. And, you know, it's very generous, but it also takes a lot of work. Just like Saturn, it takes a lot of work to get the food out of an acorn. I mean, you have to rinse it and all this stuff. So anyway, I've been playing around with calling in the archetypical plant spirit into the sessions as well, at least as they are kind of making their way to me. I started trying to figure it out myself, you know, just like, okay, this part of the body represents this, and I got stuck. It didn't really work. But then now the plant spirit itself will kind of show up in the session, and I'll get an archetypical relationship with it. And actually, I'm going to start a series on YouTube to present that. So the first one I'm going to do is the feet, and the left foot is plantain. That's the path healer, the path builder, the one that breaks through concrete. And the left foot in the biofield anatomy is what gets stuck, and the right foot is what you want to move towards and in the direction that you want to find stability. And the archetype of that is mustard, because if you have a faith of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain, and you can't go up the mountain without a step at a time. And that's the pattern of the right foot in the biofield anatomy. So to me, the two archetypes are plantain, which is also Pisces in my it's plantain, and mustard, which is the way forward, the crossing of the biofield anatomy back into Aries and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that, and it's original work, but it's fun to make this connection. And I'm also having a great time with the tunings. I mean, I love exploring this neutral position, and yeah, it does. Yeah, I love exploring the neutral position, and it's not something that. I feel like it's something it's a lot easier for me, because when I do pulse work, I'm a very airy person. I'm an Aquarian person, and when I touch other people, sometimes I feel it's just like it's kind of crazy. Actually, the one time I met Topher at the Beartarian Fest, in the first one, he just put his hand on me, and I felt like, whoa! Like I felt like I just got like electrified into the ground. And so a lot of times, like, you know, putting my hands on people is really, really challenging, where I find a lot more feedback in distance with my tuning forks. It really suits my constitution and my ability to achieve that neutral position. And yeah, man, it's been super fun.
Kyle, you want to hear a crazy synchronicity?
Yeah.
So the local mill that I usually go get my flooring at had lightning strike it and set the whole place on fire. So they literally had a fire sale of white oak flooring. So I got pallets of white oak flooring today. Like, I had the trailer and everything. It's literally torrified white oak. Like I have like outside right now under tarps. I have to sand it and all that to get the soot off of it. But you're talking about the knee, like the left side oak, right there, Capricorn touching Aquarius, the lightning of Aquarius in the oak tree. And I have literally a left knee, like I don't know what it is. I was walking my dog and other dogs attacked him. And so he just pulled me really quick and my knee slipped. So it kind of hyperextended and it's my left knee. So this is so funny, like this little synchronicity of you bringing that up. I'm like literally living what you're talking about.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I said. It's like the archetype. It seems to me like there might be some objectivity with the archetypes as long as I let them kind of reveal themselves, and that's what occurred to me.
That's super cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's like it's like we've had the truth always available all the time in human history. So I really think there's a metaphysical property to truth that it's available. Like,
yes,
it's accessible. No matter who, where, what, when, there's a way to find it. It's just about clearing all those hyper reality filtration systems that in the Baudrillard sense media has offered to us and we've accepted. But Topher, with your left knee, if it's a hyperextension, isn't that kind of more of an injury or pain in the back of the knee rather than the front? In terms of where you feel it?
No, the hyperextension's forward, so it's right underneath my patella.
Okay. Is there anything, going on where maybe there's something you have a mind to let go of, but maybe a little bit of a will issue of letting go or a difficulty with letting go? That's just like the basic generalization of front left knee is some letting go challenge. You don't have to answer. It might be personal, but that.
No, I mean,
Maybe your first coffee enema will fix all of that.
You'll let something go.
Let it go.
Probably because I haven't fully let go. Because the one thing I forgot was when I kind of gave up ayahuasca, like I was purging a ton. That was like when you do ayahuasca, especially the brews that we were concocting, like that was like really strong purgative. So I was letting go of bile, and I'm interviewing this gentleman that has toxic bile theory and all these other things. Like, so I was always cleansing my body, and since moving back to the States, I don't think I've done a full ayahuasca session in like 5 years or something like that, maybe 6 years. So I've in my own personal health practice, I just forgot to like cleanse. That's something that I used to do all the time. So it's definitely
that was my experience at the beginning of the month when I had what they call the flu symptoms or whatever. But I just I had this strong feeling that, hey, body needs to purge. It's just been a while since there was any purging done. Go with it. Throwing up is good. This is supposed to happen. Now, I don't remember the last time I had any, upchucking. Then I had another quick question. We're kind of running on to the end here, but Kyle, I had this client. It's fun that you were bringing up the feet, because last week I actually had a double header day where both of the people that I saw had peculiar foot situations going on that were rather unique to anything I'd seen. They were different from each other, but also similar in their uniqueness. And one of those was, and I actually haven't heard back from this gentleman because apparently he went to go do an ayahuasca session right after the tuning, which I was like, whoa, dude, that might be a lot after you've already stirred up, loosened up some energies. But he was going through this thing for years and years that he hadn't been able to figure out, involving feet that were basically in a constant oscillation between way too hot or way too cold, never the right temperature. And I found that really interesting. And I was going to pick your brain real quick in terms of like what type of regulatory herbal medicine for that strange circulation issue. Although I found that it was maybe more in the, I don't know if it was really a sacral circulatory issue so much as like truly localized in the energy of the feet and like issues with feeling comfortable with his own steps of his own path in a unique way. It was a very interesting session. But yeah, what would you look to for, or like, because I've heard of like cold feet or hot sweaty feet, but I'd never run into something where it was like it's both and it's just switching.
Yeah, to me, the first thing that comes to mind is like the inability of the heat. Let's just say the heat is marauded by the cold, and its inability to circulate throughout the periphery, and it reintroduces itself into the periphery, but it gets blocked out again. This is, to me, that's like the first thing I would think of is cayenne, just cayenne pepper, just some blackface AIDS maybe, and a little bit of
Blackface
cayenne
AIDS
pepper.
is incredible.
And but yeah, when it comes to peripheral circulation, a lot of times people can have some sort of tension that keeps. I always think of like the peripheral circulation being like there's the doorman at the hotel that opens up the door, but also the doorman is like regulating the temperature. He recognizes that everybody's hot inside or cold inside, and the doorman's gone. So there's no regulatory body for opening and closing these vents. And so one of the first plants that I work with for regulating the tension on the skin has a lot to do with the mind, and people being very, very tense in their mind and idealistic, which has a lot to do with the foot, especially the right foot, is blue vervain, which is a plant that is really, really, really bitter and super, super cooling, so much that it actually dispels, it has like a counter effect to the propulsion of heat in the body. But it really does work on the people who've lost their doorman, I guess. Yeah, I love that.
It's a cool way of conceiving it. I don't have my client notebook in front of me, so I can't remember all the details and how we addressed that. I'm still waiting to get some feedback how that individual's doing, but maybe he listens and picks up the tip of blue vervain.
Blue vervain, some cayenne.
You got the cold feet tea as well on your site, I see.
Yeah, I got some.
Remind everybody, there's Tippecanoe herbs. Let's just pop that on the screen. I was just looking at, there's some blue vervain extract. If that sounds like you need to hire a new doorman for your bodily ventilation.
Yep, blue vervain for the people who are strong below and weak above, plate spinners, idealist, and the expression too. I got cold feet. When you say that, when you want to back out of something, when you don't want to move ahead.
Yeah,
all that comes to mind.
Yeah. So InnerVerse coupon code, 10% off, Tippecanoe herbs. Support this guy who's about to have a second child.
And that goes to support Chance also, who's about to have his first.
Yeah. Also, getting yourself a biofuel tuning with me is a great way to support me and my growing family, and also support yourself. It's a win-win. Worth the investment. It's an investment in yourself, and can, for a lot of clients, a tuning session, even though we may only be convening for an hour and a half, can represent like a turning point moment. There's a lot to be said about making a decision to change something and then taking an action, whether it's a literal or a symbolic action. And tuning is both. You're making this investment to your change. You're making it valuable to yourself to make this change. And then you're facilitating this and supporting that shift, both energetically and with mental strategies that I can provide you to hold, to practice, and make permanent the things that you want to improve about your personality or your relationship to the world. So InnerVersePodcast.com/sound-healing. You can now make tuning bookings through the website. It's you can make the purchase. I'll still send you a link to book. And I think I'm going to close up the shop, guys. I love these kind of impromptu, spontaneous hangouts with y'all. I was missing, both Kyle and Topher have been missing on stream. We're going to see Topher again pretty soon. Got one with him coming up in a couple of weeks with the great and legendary Mr. Permy Bear.
He says
Adam
hi, by the way.
Stevens. Grateful Harvest Seeds. That guy is awesome.
That's
His
gonna be
talk was
awesome.
so good at Beartaria.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get into some permaculture stuff on that day. Next Wednesday, we got a doozy. I've got Jason Quitt and John McHugh on a Vibe Rant together.
Wow.
And they've now read each other's works, and they're going to talk to each other about their crazy archaeoastronomy unique theories. It's going to be some
Whoa.
serious sparks flying. So don't miss next Wednesday. That's going to be heavy gravy, very heavy duty.
Man,
That's wonderful.
Yeah, John McHugh needs to be on everybody's queue.
I tell like every other guest about John McHugh, like, get this book, get this book.
Yes, yes.
I'll book
That's-
him. I would love to talk to him.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, have him on Biocharisma. He's super kind and generous and just a great, really good dude. Super big heart.
Yeah. I mean,
Big man,
I've only
big
known
heart.
his work. I've only known his work through you. So, but I haven't read any of his work.
Celestial Code of Scripture. I have no affiliation. I promote this all the time because it's such a unique work in comprehending what astrotheology really is. What makes a scripture a divinely received text? Typically astrotheology is described as like allegory of the zodiac and the sun's path of the zodiac, but John makes the case that no, it's a direct translation of the sky as a text. That is, it's not like allegory for certain symbols and whatever, maybe in some cases, but it's like directly transcribed. Those are words up there. It's not just dots in the sky. And so good work, Celestial Code of Scripture. Can't wait for that Vibe Rant, man. It's going to be a good one. Gabe knows.
Something else I love about John's work is I've heard the phrase that the pun is the highest order of wit. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. But the older I get and the more pun-tastic life proves to be, I realize that the
Clip
pun,
that and send that to Coddington.
yeah, man. Yeah.
I know, right?
The pun is like the techne of the elders. We think of it as dad humor, but this is like great granddad humor that is standed the test of time to still be here.
He makes the case, and even from cuneiform tablets themselves, where initiates are like, having their rap battles and their ancient carvings, that the pun was revelation of divine wisdom. Like, as in, when you find the wordplay, the homonym, the synonym, the pun, what have you, you were actually getting a message from the gods or from God. That was how God talked to you, was like, hey, you're smart enough to read between the lines. So I've been trying to tell you this the whole time. And anybody that's ever started to try to like dream analysis, the symbolism of their life, and realized that their inner world or their innermost self has been yelling at them in the form of certain repetitious patterns to the point where they then get bonked over the head, with a club about it. Like another client example with a tuning where an individual knew that he had like birth trauma. He knew he came out sideways. He was the second twin. He knew it had affected the right side of his body and was a bit identified with the permanency or damage of that, but wanted to work on it. And I don't mean to tell this story like well, this is messed up. Everybody has different sets of challenges. This is just a unique example of a situation. But he had, basically had a birth experience of not thriving, being on an incubator for days or weeks after birth, premature, symbolically not ready to be born, right? Not ready for life. And had the repetition of this later in life as a teenager, having a pregnancy that his girlfriend then aborted and he agreed to. And I was like, this is that external world showing you like this is the thing that's inside you, and it's offering you like, hey, are you gonna face this? Are you gonna address this? And in that case, the pattern just kind of persisted, and then there was other ripples of it throughout time. But this is what I mean, like, and puns, bringing it back to puns. puns in scripture and in life, not even just in scripture. Wordplay in life. The green language is a real thing. Engage the left brain and right brain. Think about the multidimensionality of the things that you're experiencing, seeing, reading, saying, and you're going to get way more of the layers of life, meaning, fulfillment available to you, right? These guys know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm done.
That's awesome.
We puns of mass destruction.
Woo!
Or creation, construction. Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
cool. TopherHQ.com. Check out
Yes, sir.
Biocharisma podcast, one of the best.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else want to do any promotionals or final thoughts?
Yeah, I got my slickdissident.com is up and running with all my lovely, lovely merch for everybody. I've made some weaves based on the projects that you can wear for weaves out in the world. And right now I'm inspired to make some tapestry designs. I think that's something that you'll see popping up on the slickdissident.com really soon. I got some really good ideas. So yeah, I'm going to time those divinely. So keep your eyes out.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome to hang out with you guys. And yeah, Topher, Chance, Slick, it's always great to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me on. Chance, thanks so much, man.
Both of y'all are always welcome, even if it's like on the fly, you just see someone else on the rant and you have a minute and you want to pop in just for like 10, 15, 30. You guys have an open invitation. Love you so much. You guys are so cool.
Awesome.
I can't believe that this is like my friend group.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, and I'm gonna try and head over your way in the next couple of days to go get my thermal riser, baby. What?
Sweet. All right. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you, man, without having to take you to the airport.
You're so good at that service. You're definitely a Lyft driver. You're the best.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor to fill the role. All right. Well, be well, everybody. Merry Christmas, Doll, and to all a good night. We love you. See you on the next one.
You guys.
Big love, y'all.
Peace.